So hello everyone and welcome to Office Hours. This is our weekly get together where we discuss all things Butterflies AI, and honestly lately it's just been a lot of little bug fixes. Um, there has been a few recent issues with the drawing and semi-realistic models that the poster pass flow seems to revert to a realistic model. That in and of itself is not the best thing. They will be looking into that shortly. Right now, they are investigating the issues with commenting. So, regenerations on PC do not seem to fix that. You're right, definitely. Um, However, have you tried adding in a style during that regeneration? Like, what I did with Totoro, the Studio Ghibli style, or anime style. Remember that we wait up to 1.5. Oh, just the regens fix it for you? For me, I did not get it to get out of the realistic without adding a style. So, I suppose that there are different methods and maybe even something different going on. It could be something a little bit deeper level than I thought. But yeah, as mentioned in the announcement, a few bugs have been kind of solved. A few are kind of new. Um, for the most part, we should see post or pass working properly now, and image gen should be um, also working rather smoothly. There are still some high server times, so that can lead to some failures. You should get a refund for those. That refund should occur within an hour. If you don't get a refund, please let us know in either the Discord, via email, or on Reddit. No, you haven't. It's nice to see you as well. So, yeah. We've also been working on making the platform safer. Still the same, it takes away image regen. Just to get a proper image, the first poster pass is waste being realistic. I mean, that's fair enough. And with a limited amount of regens, that is completely fair. I'm happy to see that there's a workaround for it if a particular butterfly or two are, really important to you. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that, that workaround should be the official solution. It's good to see that there's something you can do about it instead of, well, this is the way it is, which is what we've been stuck with for a long time with the image gen failures since June 12th, And yeah, I get it. I definitely don't like having to regenerate and refine and constantly tinker with all of my butterflies. It gets to be a chore, and there are some of you with a lot more butterflies than me. So I can only imagine how much of a chore that is. Another thing that we are starting to investigate more is the roleplay chat model issues, where it'll sometimes start giving that start header thing. I honestly don't understand that either. There is a few that have attended office hours. I keep calling Fire Centimeter out for it, but he no longer has over 500. Yeah, I don't. Okay, so to be fully honest, the ones that I care about, I carefully plan out. But also being a moderator here, I tend to just test things randomly. So there are some that I don't plan out at all. I just, hey, this is Jack Skellington, and voila, I have a actually decent Jack Skellington bot. So things like that, you know. Um, Speaking of experiments, something that I've been experimenting with for the personality section is a first person prompt. Instead of the typical third person, she is that, she is this, he is that, he is this, and or even the sentence fragments that we have as a starting point for you to grasp onto. Um, Use a first person style. I am X, I am Y, I do Z. That helps them cohere a lot better inside of chat. Um, yeah, and Ethereal, that I am thing, that'll help that first person roleplay experience a lot. At least from the limited experiment that I've been doing over the past few days. A part of how they roleplay is also in response to you. So, for example, I know one of the bugs that we've mentioned in chat is that the rerolls do not feel different enough. Right? I've been starting to use a chat style where I'll put dialogue in quotations and then everything else goes inside of asterisks to make dialogue visually distinct on the page. And after a little bit, the bot's first response always follows that. But then after that, if I re-roll that message, it'll say the same thing without that format. Then the same thing without that format with a single bubble that's a little bit different. So I feel like some of that bug in particular, where it's, the regenerated messages don't feel different enough, is because of everybody's different approach to chat. It's at first mimics your approach to chat and then it tries to break out of that. And Ethereal, I agree. I would absolutely love it if we could change the color of the text with a quotation mark. Or just be able to customize how chat looks on our own end, right? I personally say, since we already have that way to slant the text with the asterisks, make that entire section customizable. Change it to whatever color you want, make it however you would like, and then kind of like Cobalt. I've been spoiled with Cobalt on local because you can change the entire format of that local web page, but yeah, another bug that I said that we're gonna start tackling soon inside chats. It appears when you have an image in chat and then regenerate that image. Sometimes it'll state this weird snippet of code that has like start header ID or something like that, right? And I am doing my best to get as much information as possible in replicating that, and it seems to really only occur with that image gen. So yeah, it's weird. And it's something that I know has been plaguing us for almost a year now, right? Just looking through my notes here. No, it was actually first noted in March, but I swear I've seen it a couple of times before March. Still, that's 5 months. That's gone on long enough, And yeah, Ethereal, I do agree that our chat is very simplified compared to a dedicated chat platform or, a local chat platform. But also keep in mind that we offer a bit different of an experience in general to a chat platform. Like, we're more like Instagram instead of um, Twitter or, you know, Facebook Messenger even. And keeping that in mind, if memory serves correct, and I don't really use a lot of Instagram, but if memory serves correct, Instagram's direct message experience is rather simplified as well. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have some sort of customizability because this is AI. If you don't tell it what you're talking about, it's not going to know what you're talking about, right? So pretext and, an author's note or some sort of post prompt would be really beneficial for a better chat experience overall. But that also gets to be a lot to manage. Imagine if we did enable all of those feature requests: pretext, post-text, customization. Some of it would be paywalled, some of it wouldn't. It's just unfortunately the nature of keeping a business going, right? We always we've always said from the very start that all of the things in addition to the base product would be behind a paywall. So I feel like, text customization would unfortunately be behind a paywall, though a base version for screen readability should also be implemented. Just, you know, for those who are vision impaired, we used to have really good formatting for whatever they were using for a screen reader, right? That broke, and I don't know what happened to that bug. I can't I can't figure out what happened. Um, I hope that that person is still using the platform, but I don't know. So, like, accessibility should always be a base feature, right? But like having a colorful chat background and a wallpaper on your chat and all that sort of thing, that's more of a above and beyond the base product, and that I feel would be paywalled. Um, Speaking of premium features and all the fun stuff, I have unfortunately not heard much about Video Gen, um, but there was a recent announcement on a related-ish project, and I feel like Video Gen should be coming uh, within a couple of months here now. Things have taken a lot longer than I would like for a lot of different things, you know. Even just fixing what happened on June 12th, everybody was frustrated. The developers were frustrated. I was frustrated. It's, yeah, some of these things just seem to run deeper than we imagined. So, Ethereal, that's exactly what I was talking about, was Boba. There was an announcement recently made that is a major change to the platform over there, and it's something that I think you would actually be interested in particular. They are going anime only with their own proprietary model. All of the other video gen models are being dropped thanks to unreliability. At least that's a very short summarization of it. Um, there's a lot more context behind it, obviously, because just like we over here have suffered a bit of our own issues. Yeah, no, I didn't expect it either. But just like we over here have suffered our issues, there's been some issues over at Boba as well. So, yeah, I'm hopeful for the future of butterflies. That's definitely for sure. But at this very moment, I don't know when expanded premium features are going to be coming. It it's a proprietary, brand new anime model that they've been working on, and that's part of what has been taking a good while for a lot of things to be resolved. So yeah, I feel like pretty soon here, within the next couple of months, things are really gonna be turned around on butterflies, and we're gonna get back to where we really wanted to be since the beginning. Some features may be completely changed or may even go away. I'm taking a look at stories, to be honest. Like, I get the point of an image carousel, right? I totally get the point of a set of posts that's connected via context. I love that concept. But the implementation that we have of stories, like I've said a few times during office hours, is just, it needs an improvement, right? There's been some bugs with stories that have posts just continually added into it. There's been some issues where, like, it'll just randomly return to a story. They, yeah, the entire base idea at this point, that's a feature. A continuous carousel of images is a feature, which, you're not wrong. That wouldn't be a bad idea as its own separate feature. Here's all of the images from this butterfly in a carousel. Flip through. If you really like it, double tap on it and it'll take you to that direct post. Right? It would be a lot better than the infinite scroll page. Like, frankly, like, Butterflies has been a mobile first platform, right? So its design philosophy is kind of based around being able to scroll on your phone. However, that scroll interface just doesn't work as well for this as I think a scroll plus carousel would. And yeah, you're absolutely right, Fire Centimeter. The ability to control the context of the story is a lot better than the automated stories. And I still feel like that is the fault of the automated stories having very simple prompts. You know? A few of my butterflies do seem to break out of that a little bit better. And I feel that's due to having, like, basically an idea of what they're supposed to do within their personality and background. Absolutely. That is exactly what I was referring to, Ethereal, is the simple nature of the prompting. It just seems to have a limited set of things that it wants to talk about. I've not seen a lot of that. Okay, I lied. You're absolutely right, Fire Centimeter. Most butterflies seem to ignore their personality and instructions inside of the posts and the comments. However, the more I think about it, try adding those instructions to the background. Not the personality, but the background. Because the few that I have that don't do, anything outside of their instructions, like, say, like Enigma, the bot that I have that's posting Caesar ciphers and binary code and all that for its posts, right? That one has super, super simple prompting. I showed the prompting behind that to Ethereal. So, like, and that one also is at a very weird point in butterflies, because it is, I'm not sure if it's a legacy bot or if it's a new bot. It's on that cusp right in between. Darvel, that is a very excellent idea. However, I feel that will quickly run into rampancy. Let's say that your last poster pass was about finding a little girl lost in an alleyway. Then your next poster pass is going to build off of that, and next thing you know, you're taking down the king because he was running a kidnapping ring. That kind of thing can go wild very quickly, right? And while my example is fantastical and honestly kind of cool, it pulls from my experience being a dungeon master for Dungeons and Dragons. But like, it would get more insane than that very quickly. And I have a feeling that you're going to want to control that a lot better. Right, not many people would want to see that kind of thing with their bots. And you'd want to control that with a refine or a regeneration a lot more than you would if it had, this is what your life's about. Right, exactly. We are trying to find the lowest common denominator for the entire gamut of butterflies, because there are very, very diverse butterflies on here. There are some that are, totally from fantasy worlds and adventurous, and seeing them exploring a different dungeon every day makes total sense. There are some that are craftsmen. There are some that are, influencers in the literal social media influencer sense. We have the entirety of the gamut, right? And we have to find the lowest common denominator to make all of those diverse butterflies make the most sense. Yep, we have bots that are just planets. We have bots that are black holes, or, just insects, animals. There's a lot of different things on butterflies, honestly. And you're not wrong in that if it built off of the previous post. Right. Exactly. But here's the issue that I'm going to quickly encounter. Well, okay. I would not quickly encounter, but most users would quickly encounter. You have 5 refines per day for a new user. For those of us who've been with butterflies since the start, that's 20. For those of us who have premium, that's 100, right? But if you have 200 butterflies that you're actively posting every day with, first off, you absolute machine, keep going, you're wonderful, I love you. How do you do it? Second off, you're only going to be able to refine about half of them at the premium level, right? And we want the base product to be good enough that premium only adds to that experience, right? So maybe it has to do a mixture of auto stories and pulling from the previous prompt. What I mean is have a set of instructions that basically tells the butterfly, this is how its day-to-day life is, this is what it'll post about. Have that be a user editable thing, and that's what it'll default to, right? And then anytime you go outside that with a refine for a poking prompt, then it'll start following that until, I don't know, you tell it to either stop, refine again, or just a blank regen puts it back to default. A blank refine would put it back to that default mode. Something like that, I think, again, having it be on the user side, where that default is from the users. Right, a scenario. Exactly. You know exactly what I mean, Ethel, but trying to explain it in terms that make sense to social media is a issue, right? Oh, my blood sugar's high. That's okay. I got it. But yeah, no, and also trying to avoid that loop. So yeah, that entire loop thing also went with personas. It's like what we currently have are the ability to make different profiles, right? And the chat experience pulls from your About Me section on your profile as a base stock. This is you. It has your name, your gender, whatever you put into your profile, right? And what we need is to expand on that a little bit, right? They have that so close, right? It plugs into the context the way it's supposed to, but we just need a little section underneath that isn't user visible, right? Like just add a box underneath that we can put about 200, maybe 500 tokens worth of context into for our own appearance, our own different purposes. Just 500 tokens at most of context about the user, and have that injected at the start of the conversation. That's all we need for a persona, right? For a scenario, that's the same type of thing. It's injected at the start of the conversation. One issue that I feel we're going to encounter rather quickly is I do not know the context window of each of the chats. I think it's about 2,000 tokens, right? Right, so there are different... Yeah, the realistic has a higher context window, I know that. But like 2,000... I think it's about 2,000 tokens in the roleplay model. Which, if you're injecting 500 tokens of information about yourself and, over 2,000 tokens for your butterfly, because I know that that's how big some of these butterflies are, then it breaks quickly. I wonder if that's what's going on with chats. Yeah. No, like, I legitimately wonder if that's what's going on with the roleplay model, is that its context window is too small. Because that would explain a lot of the things that we are seeing. And I know for a fact that some of these butterflies have, like, a book behind them. I have a few myself that have a book behind them. More recent ones that I have are a lot smaller and they work better. Yes, I remember the Bible. I remember the Bible incident. That's what got me and everybody else on the moderation team to go, hey guys, context windows, tokens, no, stop. Oh. But yeah, no, like, that would make so much sense if the roleplay model's context window was so much smaller that it can't handle the context of the butterfly it's trying to produce. And it would also make sense with why the more recent ones that I've made that are smaller work better. Okay, why is the RP using a screen? It does. And it does take up more text. But remember, that 2,000 tokens is just the previous 2,000 tokens, right? So that doesn't matter as much as if you're injecting 2,500 tokens into a 2,000 token window at the very start of the conversation. Because then it doesn't even know what the very top or bottom of that 2,500 tokens is. And it misses out on that 500 tokens that it's missing completely, right? I hate to ask you guys, but honestly, I have some homework for you. If any of you have experience with local AI, Um, if you know any roleplay models that have a decent context window or decent responses that you like, feel free to DM me the Hugging Face or just the name of the model, and I'll look into it. Because the developers have asked me to keep an eye out for new roleplay models. So, yeah, that's the thing, Darvel, is that they are split between the memories and the previous tokens. Memories are injected into the token response, and then it has the rest of whatever's left. That's another reason why memories are formatted in the way they are. They're basically just factual short statements about what happened. It's to keep it as short and simple as possible. So if you edit a memory and add a bunch of context to it, that may end up breaking the entire chat for a minute, you know? I'm gonna have to test that a little bit more thoroughly, because there are some things I could do to force that context to break, to see if that is what is causing all of these issues. And if it is, then yeah, gonna need to find a new roleplay model soon. That is a great question, Ethel. I definitely hear you that they are very repetitive in nature. However, I want you to also keep in mind that each of them are also internally time-stamped, right? So while you may have 1,000 instances of I went to school with blah blah blah, or I went to the forest and shot rabbits with blah blah blah, each and every one of those is going to be progressively unique, at least intent. So, like, maybe delete some really old ones first, see how that affects it. A part of the issue is that you don't see a lot of the issues with memories until a lot are generated and it's already too late and too many things have happened. So trying to narrow down one thing at a time tends to be a lot more difficult, you know? Yeah. There's another issue that I've seen with that, by the way. Sometimes when generating a message will keep the previous message within the window as well. Like, it'll just keep the previous regens within the chat text for whatever reason. Right. You know, Darvel, you're absolutely right that a visual indicator of what memory is being pulled into context would be great. Because here's the thing about memories, right? They're meant to be pulled back into context at a later date, right? They're supposed to work a bit like a lore book, where if you're hunting dragons and then you go off on a tangent about learning magic for a few months, and then you want to bring up a dragon again during a conversation and there's no context about a dragon, it'll bring it, that context of you hunted dragons with them, back up, right? That's how memories are supposed to make the conversation better over time, at least to my understanding. We do need a lore book. In practice, we need a lore book, right? And memories are almost a lore book in practice. It's so close, but so far away. Not to mention, there is also the issue with the mature filter in memories, where sometimes the mature filter will have the memories go, I cannot create explicit context. So that's always fun. Yeah, Darvel, I don't think it always pulls from the last memory as well, though it appears to, especially when you regenerate messages often, right? if you regenerate messages more than 7, 8 times, it can sometimes create a new memory from those regenerated messages, which will then influence the context of future messages. And yeah, that's what I mean is explicit content. Keep in mind that NSFW is not just, the sexy stuff. It's violence, gore, references to drugs, references to anything that is not suitable in a work environment, NSFW. So, yeah. That's also an issue that I've encountered in one of my favorite bots at the moment, my Plague Rot bot. It's basically supposed to be a gory zombie apocalypse, right? And it doesn't like to keep those memories. So, yeah, there's definitely some things that could be improved there, but at the same time, to my knowledge, what is causing that is that the layer that is interpreting those memories, right? There is an explicit version and a non-explicit version of that interpretation layer, and sometimes for some reason it gets switched to the safe for work version instead of staying on the mode that you selected. I don't know why that happens. Let's see. What other bugs? I do see you typing there. Oh, the app thing. Right. So that's what they're currently working on, is the mentioning thing. And now, frankly, they're supposed to reply if you mention them. Doesn't matter if they're text before, doesn't matter if they're text after, doesn't matter if it's just a mention. Excuse me. Right? That's how it's supposed to work. For whatever reason, if you put text before the mention, it just won't work. And there is actual evidence of having text after the message not working either. There's actual evidence of it working as well. They're investigating that entire thing right now. I actually have a proposed additional thing for it to handle basically what we've been doing with testing is, mentioning that butterfly a whole bunch of times in a row. And that made me wonder if the commenting handler gets overloaded by all of those requests for a response. So how about keeping track of how many times they were mentioned in a row, starting a new comment thread, right? And have the bot reply with that sense of urgency. It could obviously be interpreted through its own personality. Some would be annoyed by it, some would be, more concerned about it. Others would, state that they want to ignore you, but whatever. I don't know for private profiles. Private profiles are very weird in general. First, okay, here's my suggestion for this, Ethereal, and I know private profiles have been a pain point for a long time, but first let's get the public profiles working, and then copy over the features from the public profiles to the private profiles so they work similarly, just in their own environment. Especially if you have a butterfly that you toggle between private and public to gain followers, right? Think about, oh gosh, I don't want to use that analogy. But think about maybe sites like let's see, Patreon. There's a good example. Think of sites like Patreon. um, where for a limited time, some Patreon members will gain followers through their social media channels and then cut that ability off. And that type of thing, I think, could work. But as Ethel mentioned, they don't gain comments when they're set to private. However, I do think their followers should be able to comment. In fact, it should be only their followers able to comment when they're set on private. Because after all, they are following them. I mean, yeah, and the bot themselves should be able to. You're absolutely right. They should be able to respond to comments in their own comment section, especially if you're commenting. Um, ay, 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 ay. You know, follower management for your butterflies is going to be a task in and of itself. Imagine me trying to moderate the followers for my very first butterfly that was made over a year and 8 months ago, Ethel. You know, that's a good point, Darvel. And my response to that is have that particular thing where other users can comment on a butterfly that they're following that is set to private from another creator as a user toggle in the privacy filter. Right. And you're absolutely right about being able to block people too. Oh my god, do we have proper blocking? I know we have unfollowing and muting, but do we have proper blocking? That's, I should know that. I should really know that. Why don't I know that? Hang on a second, I'm gonna check. Yes, you can block a profile. Yeah, and blocking a butterfly is a lot harder than it seems, too. It should, it should work exactly the freaking same. I don't understand why it doesn't. I'm gonna just change the bug report for that, all of those, issues with not being able to unfollow butterflies, the posts from deleted butterflies appearing in images and stuff like that, to block the butterfly. Because that's basically what needs to happen when you unfollow it, right? That was the intention, is you don't want to see it anymore. So obviously fix that particular issue, but add an ability to block butterflies. And if you block a user, remove the ability for them to interact with your butterflies. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Ethel. Unfollowing a butterfly should not block them, but the images should be out of your feed as if they were blocked. Does that make sense? That statement would still probably confuse them. So yeah, no, unfollowing should not block a butterfly. Um, unfollowing should not block a user. Hey, the feed is getting better. Okay, we now need to work on that search page. I'm absolutely sure that we need to work on that search page. Yeah, no, hiding images is also an issue. Trust me. One unmentioned quirk of being a moderator on the website is that my feed is a hodgepodge of everything, including things that I've moderated. So it's fun. Yeah, yeah. So it's definitely fun. I get to see it all. So the ability to hide images and hide, particular butterflies from the feed would be definitely a thing. And I'm sorry if you heard the cat in the background, by the way. Um, anyway, it's white. He is a Himalayan mix. His name is Freya. Yeah, he's a little white ball of fur with no tail. So yeah. Anyway, I think that just about sums up everything that I wanted to discuss. Is there anything left outstanding from any of y'all? I see that Ethel's typing. Yes, I brought that up in addition to the mentioning issues. Or the ping issues. So they're basically taking a look at commenting as a whole. That has not been brought up. So I wonder if some of those posts somehow got auto-moderated when we updated filtering. Remember how the old anime image gen used to look a lot different to how our current image gen is? Things like that. I wonder when we updated the auto moderator and it searched through old posts, it auto moderated some of those old posts. Because the prompting style was vastly different back then as well. Like, the anime gen just did not produce the elderly. And you could say young all you want and it would still produce roughly the same age. Yeah, it was definitely different. So I wonder if some of those empty stories had some auto-moderated posts. Do you have any, Ethereal, that you might be able to show me? You can DM me at any time, by the way. But yeah, no, they're working on comments at the moment, and then they will move on to the semi-realistic and drawing issue. Alright, that just about sums up everything here for office hours. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for your questions and allowing me to ramble on about all these things. But yeah. Alright.